The destruction of the constitutional militia of the several states really begins in 1903. At that point, Congress created a distinction between what it called the organized militia and what eventually came to call the unorganized militia. The organized militia it identified with the National Guard. The unorganized militia was everybody else. Now, the purpose of this operation was to remove most people from active participation in any form of militia organization. The unorganized militia essentially does nothing at all. But the National Guard does not have the characteristics of a constitutional militia. First and foremost, the National Guard is not a near universal compulsory membership organization. Where the National Guard actually fits into the Constitution is Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3, which states that no state may keep troops or ships of war in time of peace without the consent of Congress. National Guard is the statutory structure by which the states and Congress have come to an agreement as to how the states will maintain their own troops or ships of war in time of peace. And what that does with the National Guard is to make it an adjunct of the regular army. The National Guard is part of the standing army, and that's why the National Guard went off to World War I, whereas the militia could not be called upon to go off as part of the army. So the goal of this operation by the people that set it up was to increase the size of the reserve forces that would be available for the regular armed forces that could be called upon when they believed that America should become involved in foreign military adventures of one kind or another. And on the other hand, to push everyone else into this unorganized category, which would in fact reduce the ability of everyone else to participate and influence the martial activities, if you will, of this country and of their various states. If those militia are actually functioning, very large numbers of people participating, influencing the process, being concerned with what was going on, paying attention, influencing their public officials in the executive branch and in the legislatures, there'd be really more of what I would call a ferment of political involvement of people. Now, there is none of that. And the great problem with this is that it leaves all of those people in the unorganized militia unprepared for the various crises or calamities, really catastrophes that you can imagine, that would threaten the security of a free state.